had an exciting week. I know Chip finishing up Mardi Gras must have been exciting, and I appreciate Mark the photo album because I haven't had a chance to really get into it yet, and everything else that Howard always does and keeping in contact. So appreciate you all being here. This is the Better Climbers Radio Council digital voice message starting here at the top of the hour. And if there are any other stations that would like to participate, you don't have to be a Marco member. If you're hearing us and you're hearing the Club in Array and you'd like to join us, please do so. I see PY2BBQ is here online. Hilton, are you available to participate today? Go ahead. Okay. Yeah, I got your message on the instant message. Um, Hilton, I assume that means you were working this morning and not for personal reasons there. Um, anybody's looking at the NetLogger, we'll see what we're talking about. By the way, we do have NetLogger up and running, so those of you that are listening that aren't already logged into NetLogger, we are monitoring the instant message window. Are there any other stations that would like to do an early check-in? Go ahead and make your call. Well, perhaps it will be a quiet morning. Other stations may still come in here. Almost time for that. We will have a time change coming up, so maybe it's next Saturday night. So we'll have one more time here at 10 Eastern before we move to 11 o'clock Eastern as we keep our same UTC time and Eastern time changes. That might help a little bit having an extra hour of sleep for people out in California. This is AA4FL net control for the Marco TV net. In just a moment, we'll start the net at the top of the hour. This is AA4FL-K operating today out of North Central Florida, Hawthorne, Florida, Alachua County. And this is the Amateur Radio Medical Council DVNet. And I appreciate everybody being here with us. Sorry about being tongue twisted here. And we'll be taking check-ins momentarily, but a little bit of housekeeping here. The National Climate Array, the Climate Array being a transcoding service, involves a lot of different servers all over the world, computers, radios, servers. Make sure to allow time for everything to sync. Don't tailgate the person in front of you. And after you're through transmitting, of course, the person after you will not tailgate you as well. And once you start transmitting, just do a little bit of pause before you start speaking to allow the system to work properly. There will have better operability in that case and less chance that your signals will be dropped. Speaking of dropped, don't forget 2-minute time requirements. It's required for many repeaters. I gotta drop off. We meet weekly at this time in 1500 UTC. And in in the meeting at this time, we do have members that attend, but also anyone that's on the Quadnet Array that would like to participate, you need to be in the health-related field. As long as you have an interest in the health-related field, whether the subjects that we're discussing that are led by NARCO members, feel free to check in and participate. If you just like to monitor and not actually participate, that's fine too, but still be nice to have you check in so we know you're here with us. I see Andy WJ8B is now online. Andy, I'm under check-ins. I still like you to check in, just make sure everything online works well today. Go to entry now. Before that, are there any stations that have priority or emergency traffic for the net? If so, please make your call now.
It's WJ8B, just making sure audio is working.
Sounds beautiful there, Andy. It's good to hear you and clear again. Thank you for checking in on that. Sure. Are there any stations that are here today on emergency or limited time? If so, know that number is limited time or short time. Excuse me. Trying to multitask here. Please go ahead and make your call. None being heard. We're ready for regular check-ins. So far, we have myself, N5RTF, WA1EXA, N9OML, PYT who's on his way home. He's got us up on YouTube recording already, but he'll participate when he gets home in WJAB. Are there any other stations I'd like to check in at this time? Please make your call. All right, no additional trends. We have a formal discussion for today, topic or a thread. Certainly, as you make your presentations, I'll bring up some topics that you'd like to for future consideration. We did receive from a few hands emails saying that they were picking up transmissions from Ukraine in the ham bands, but in a broadcast band style. They have a signal. One says it's 14.205, talking about how the Ukrainians were going to resist. And I also heard mention that QRZ is along the Russian call sign movements currently. So I'm just curious as everyone checks in that they may have heard about amateur radio in this regard. It seems that amateur radio has always been or the goal has been the pantheon of civility, so finding a little hard to limit access for anyone in the group. Uh, Hopefully we go above politics and governance and amateur radio. I see W96AA is now online. So I'm going to check you in there. I'll put you on the list. But first person on the list to have the discussion and hire friendship.
Hey, for Ellen.
I had Chip drop out right away. And 5 RTF is none of that longer. So it's giving us a real that for you on the mark. Jeff, if you're dropped and are listening in 5 hours, Jeff, go ahead.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Jeff,
Okay. I was just saying that we're recovering from an absolutely beautiful Mardi Gras with no bad incidents, no crime, no um, political problems. Everybody seemed happy and glad to have their holiday back in 5 hours.
well, I'm glad everything was as enjoyable as ever, Jeff. And this COVID has possibly been disrupted in the very year. May never be a threat again to Mardi Gras or to anything else, anyone else. I don't know if you've read, everyone here's read some of the same reports. I don't even remember where I read about zoological transfer between deer and humans in Canada. A hidden population of deer that was unregistered if they have a highly mutated version of the variant, like 57 mutations. They've gone back to one human since then. So maybe that's another part of the show today. If anybody's heard about that article about the potential here for the zoologic transfer back and forth and because of this further mutation. Next one was WA1EXA.
UA1EXA is here. Good morning, everybody. Let me make sure you hear me. Am I coming through okay?
Yes, audio's not perfect, but you're sounding fine over.
Okay, fine. You mentioned about the monitoring of the Ukrainian conflict. My local club sent me a link if anybody's interested. It's K0LWC.com. That's Kilo Zero Lima Whiskey Charlie.com. And I can't vouch for the website or anything. It's just this is what we got. And but it does have frequencies and it explains kind of how they operate. It's amazing you got a lot of these frequencies. So anyway, I thought pass that along. And as far as the COVID thing, we got a newsletter from the Tufts Veterinary College. We get it on a regular basis, but the last newsletter was about how dogs can get and can transmit COVID, but it's very rare. It's not something that is really to worry about because it's a rare occurrence, but it is possible. So that's another animal class that we can look forward to, I guess. So other than that, back to you, WA1EXA.
Yeah, thank you, Mark. The article that I read about deer, it said there only one case of transmission back, and I would assume since apparently it's been in the population for at least a year and nothing recognized of deer, that transfer there must be deer. Pretty rare as well, but pretty rare as well. I'm glad now at least they're aware of and all these domestic animals reason for someone's doing that. Maybe we invite to the members of the veterinary amateur radio group. There is a group after that is on Sunday mornings, maybe on 3:45 uh, before the Grand Race. So someone would like to pop in there, it might be as early as 1400 UTC, and invite them. I'm not usually on it, Jeff. But if you'd like to explain the situation, invite somebody involved to do that. That would be wonderful. It's come up on TV and start talking about that subject in particular. And I will let go. Good morning, John.
Good morning, Jay. Good morning to everybody on the net. Hope everybody's doing well. That's about it. My week was relatively eventful. I had surgery and didn't find any more cancer, so that's a good sign. And continue to plod along rehabbing the knee. So that's sort of one of those weird weeks where all I did was went to doctor's offices. But things turned out well on all counts. And I know I'm not back to my control.
Howard, as you got a clean bill on the examination there, I know that's worrying than it should, and I hope that brings you some comfort and soul. That's great, great news. And we're not a loquacious bunch. We can find a topic that interests us all that we can discuss. I was ready for next week and invite others. I be in the South for the next week. I'll be able to be on the net. PR2 BBQ hasn't have you designated yet as your home QTH.
Okay, I hope you can hear me well. Good morning, everybody. This is Papa Yankee 2 Bravo Bravo Quebec Hilton from São Paulo, Brazil. Just arrived from the hospital. I'm on call this Saturday, but I did have time to remotely turn on the transmission to the YouTube. Many subjects this week, isn't it? I think regarding COVID-19 here in Brazil, the situation is pretty stable now. Many cities are not applying the use of masks in the open. It will happen in São Paulo as well in the following week. I hope so. And the number of patients in the hospital decreased a lot. In my hospital, Albert Einstein, it used to be like 200 in 2 weeks ago, and now it's just 40 patients, and we don't see any new patients in the hospital or intensive care now. So I think the situation is getting better and better. Wait one. Okay, PY2BBQ returning. Now just a brief comment on the situation of the Russian amateur radio operators and that were banned from QRZ.com yesterday, and then they decided to put them back. I wrote some comments in the QRZ.com forums about that. I disagree that we are, as amateur radio operators, must do something against the Russian hams. I don't think they are responsible for the invasion in Ukraine, and I always admired the Russian hams very much because when they didn't have access to commercial radios, most of them used it to homemade their equipment. And as soon as they were allowed to travel abroad, they organized the expeditions of the last times. And they are great operators in contests in any modality. So I think amateur radio should be a part of this discussion. That's my point of view. So back to you, JA, 4FL, PY2BBQ.
PY2BBQ, A4FL. Thank you for that explanation, Hilton. I had not heard the news. I had not gone into the forums or it involves a discussion, but I agree with you not to penalize them, but in essence also, perhaps they're gonna just enough that they can communicate if they're not prohibited by the government. That the chances of them finding more out about what's really happening, or at least how it's affecting other individuals, will be more readily. I don't know how many European amateurs are going to speak up, but if they're talking to a Russian ham, I'd imagine some of them might bring up this subject. And we'll just have to wait and see if the Russian government prohibits amateur radio during this time like they are with other independent news organizations, even though that's not the purpose. I mean, if we start seeing that all our QSLs have to go back to PO Box 88 in Moscow, I guess we have an issue there. I did work a station in the Crimea 2 years ago on 6 meters. And this kind of a weird thing to do. It was a Russian call sign. I looked up the rules to see if it was going to count, since it was still contested as to whether it was Ukrainian or Russian territory. And from what I read, is whoever the licensing authority was that issued the license will be eligible for credit for DFCC for that particular country. So I guess I got Russian credit even though it was in Crimea, contested area. Any other follow-up comments on that, Hilton? Go ahead.
Yes, the only last comment I would like to do is that amateur radio is about bringing people together and not putting people apart. I think, as I said, that probably most of the Russian ham radio operators are victims of their government. So we should do nothing against them. So back to you and the group A4FL PY2BBQ.
Thank you, Hilton, for your wise comments. Back in the old Soviet days, in the 1970s, early days, sometimes I wondered, though, on the CW offside, if there was some kind of evaluation of American amateurs, because as much CW as I sent to 15 to 20 words per minute, it seemed like my ability to have and receive CW was being tested. So, perhaps as everyone makes their comments, if you can relate to my perception at the time, uh, please do. But obviously, a lot's changed in the world since then. Do you have a follow-up comment? Did you ever experience that health and PY to BBQ AA4SL?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jay. I think I lost the first part of your transmission. Would you repeat, please?
I was just commenting that during the days of the USSR, when the country was the Soviet Union, the countries composed of the Soviet Union, there were times in the 70s where I had the perception that no matter how much CW I sent at 15 to 20 words per minute, there were stations from Russia at the time that were almost got the feeling we're sending much faster to see what my ability was to send. Maybe that was paranoia at the time from the Cold War. And I was just wondering if you or anyone else has a similar story. I know a lot in the world has changed since then. What has to do with now in amateur radio in Russia has nothing to do with what happened in the early 1970s. Any comments, Elton?
Oh, yes, now I got it. I was receiving your audio from my walkie-talkie because in the computer it was too much bass and it was hard to understand. But yes, I do have exactly the same perception, and even today, there are many operators from the former USSR that are great CW operators, and I know they had this training in the army, certainly, and they are great CW operators of today. And I see many younger hams in Russia. There are great CW operators as well. I have been dedicated to CW the last few months, and I could increase my ability and my CW speed, and they start in 20 words per minute and go up to 40. It seems in the beginning that it's impossible to copy, but actually it's not. It's a matter of training and the exact way. So yes, I have exactly the same perception, Jay. For FL, PY2, BBQ.
Okay, well, I hope nothing was intentional or nefarious back in the 1970s, and I absolutely would not conclude or feel that today. But different environment, different world. On the way to the group here, Russian ham I was friendly with exchanged QSL cards. They sent me a gift, and what he sent me in the mail was a blank PO Box 88 QSL card, unfilled out, just for me to have and enjoy. I thought that was a very thoughtful gift. He knew I was an operator back during those days. So hopefully one of you will get that same opportunity someday. I'll try to remember to scan that and distribute it. Maybe that would get the interest of some of our members to get on the net for stories like that. Next on the list, WJ8B. Good morning, Andy.
Well, good morning, everybody on the net. Good to hear everybody. I actually went to a ham radio breakfast. It started at 8, lasted until about 9:15 this morning in my local FM repeater group. We had 12 people there. That's the most we've had since January of 2020. So it was good to see a lot of people I haven't seen in a long time. Would see few individually. We had a field day. So saw a few there. So on what we're talking about on the Ukraine, one thing I know that the BBC apparently fired up their multi-kilowatt shortwave station and is beaming it to Russia, transmitting news basically in Russian in that direction. They haven't done that in years, so I don't know the exact frequency, but I would assume it'd be somewhere between 6 megahertz and 10 megahertz. I don't know that much Russian. I know a little bit. I have a daughter-in-law who was raised in Siberia, and still, of course, is very fluent in that. That's where she was raised. And she's actually teaching it to my 2 grandsons. One thing that I did notice at our local ham radio thing was that several of the guys are still, as recently as 48 hours ago, in contact with the Ukrainian station. They have no, overall political contact that they were basic contacts with anyone on here. At least that was certainly great for time. And also remember the Russian alphabet is not the same as ours. Very, very different. So how that translates to CW. So, and one more thing, we have a second go around, Mark. If you want to repeat that site, that website, and the Ukrainian frequencies, that would be appreciated. So, thank you, Jay, from WJ8B.
Well, thank you, Andy. Before I turn it back, we're going to get narrow in a moment, WW6AA, but I'm going to turn it back to Mark to repeat that information. But before we do, are there any other check-ins? Anyone that's running a little late this morning would like to check in as to the Marco DVNet, the Medical Amateur Radio Council Net? You do not have to be a member of Marco. You don't have to be in the healthcare professions. If you just want to be involved in the discussion, please make your call now and check in. Make your call to AA4FL.
AA4FL and 4TSC, just listening. I learn more from listening than I do from speaking, so just checking in. AA4FL and 4TSC.
Hey, additional check-in. Good morning, Jerry. I'm headed down to your area on Thursday for a 1-week stay. So maybe we can get together or plan down there. I'm just going on a solo trip, and we'll run the net out of South Florida next weekend. I'm Mark, WA1EXA, and there was a request from Andy to repeat that information about the Ukrainian source, the website source, the Ukrainian ham radio information. Would you please go ahead and do so?
Okay, WA1EXA, sure. It's Kilo Zero Lima Whiskey Charlie.com. K0LWC.com. I also got information from my local club that the Radio Club of Great Britain or something. I'm not sure if it's Great Britain or United Kingdom, but the official ARRL version of in Great Britain has disqualified all hams from Russia and Belarus from able to participate or to get any points for any contest that they're in charge of. So that's another thing that seems to be happening. I have not heard anything from ARRL as far as the U.S. is concerned. So back to you, WA1EX.
AA4FL, thank you, Mark. I didn't realize the RGB was doing that, but just after the discussion of that Hilton had brought up, why you penalizing him, that have nothing to do with it. I mean, I can understand if it was like gymnastics or an international athletic competition where they tend to represent the country, but I don't think individual hams are representing the country. It's not a political entity that gives them the ability for amateur radio. So I hope we're not creating future hardships, and I hope the space program doesn't end up becoming excessively stressed. I read that there were some of satellites from Great Britain that were supposed to be launched that aren't being launched by the Russians because of it. And I know back during Crimea that when we were getting launches to the International Space Station, there was, that what the space agency said, something like, you can use, what are the names of those elastics that drop you? I'm just having a senior moment here. The word a minute ago, to get up to the Earth, so to get up off the Earth instead of a launch from us. So hopefully this resolves itself quickly. It doesn't flare into a greater war, but we can only feel nothing but concern for all of the residents of the Ukraine. And it seems like they've been unjustly attacked. So that will turn over the next night to Merrill here at WW6AA, and Merrill's never short on words when it comes to stating his opinion from his side of discussion, and it means a lot from Helsinki since he is a part-time resident of Switzerland, a country that did something very unusual this year in regard to Russia. Go ahead, Merrill.
Thank you, Jay. This is WW6AA, and Jay, you seduced me to getting up early this morning because you promised you were going to discuss a book club and the concept of a Zoom. I'm just trying to gather my thoughts. I'm still waking up. But let me preface a couple of things. Number one, I take a very global view of the world. I manage a portfolio for my family, and I really do pay very critical attention to what's happening. And so last week I had my doctor friend from Ukraine, and he had been back to Ukraine too. So I can give you some of his insights. His number one insight is that Putin is going for a cycle. But what I really wanted to say, and I think this connects to what Hilton is saying, is I think it's important that we keep lines of communication open. And I think ham radio is a very unique opportunity. I personally believe in 6 degrees of separation. And if you think about the potentials of ham radio, we have the ability to make a contact with less than 5 watts anywhere in the world. The person that we contact has the ability to jump onto QRZ and get a picture of us, to get our email, and to further that communications. And if you added Zoom to that, think of the enormous global potential. And in terms of Russia, I had unfortunately the last time was 2007, and in order to make it across Siberia on the train, I used an expediter, and the way I found an expediter is I found a hand in Moscow, and that was the person that arranged got through some of the various obstacles for me. So basically, I would like to encourage this group to expand its horizons. So, Jay, I really do want to know about the Zoom, and I do want to know about the book club. These are things that would stimulate me to get up early. Back to you, WW6AA is listening.
Of course, that's we got the topic of discussion. We've got one more person to just offer input on the Ukrainian thread. Let's move over to the book club to finish up the end for today and just focus on making the arrangements for a Zoom session and selecting a time. N4TSC, go ahead, Jerry. Okay, Jerry had said he was listening for the most part. So, Dr. Merrill, WW6AA, you had brought up the book last week. I believe it was you. Would you like to lead us in the discussion of that particular book? As I know there's one other person that has something wanted to discuss, but that particular book for the first Zoom session, over.
Jay, I don't think you want somebody with Asperger's to lead a book club. I just threw that book out there because I told you I had gotten it from the Wall Street Journal, and I thought it was incredibly well written, and it gave a background on why we have anxiety and why we have various feelings. In brief, one of the things I got out of the book is that anxiety comes from thinking about the future, and depression comes from thinking about the past. And the cure for both of them is mindfulness and to be in the present. AA4FL WW6AA is listening.
Well, I've never heard that, and that's a very wise thing to consider. And I'll bring that up up to a family member that's having some issues with them, need to know why mindfulness is so important to be in the present. Well, benefit him. Maybe I'll get that relative to also read the book. Thank you for mentioning that. So, one thing we briefly talked about last week, we're in the middle of a time change here, of course. But if we did say 9 o'clock Eastern time and 6 o'clock on the West Coast, we waited until after the time change on March 13th to make the announcement. With that, what day of the week works best for you now, over?
No day works good at 6 a.m., Jay, but if you really are serious about this, I will try and adjust my schedule. What I would encourage, though, is to try and expand this so that members of ARCO use all of the technologic tools to communicate, that they use the internet, they use QRZ, that they use Zoom, and that we expand our horizons. Think of the potential that we really had, or would have, if we had a global reach, and if we communicated how important it is to use technology. W6AA is listening.
QSL Merrill, but misunderstood the time. 9 in the evening on the East Coast, 6 in the evening on the West Coast. We obviously need to give at least a few weeks for people to read the book, but which evening at 6 o'clock in the evening would work best for you personally?
Will work. 5 would even work. And I'm serious, Jay. I think you should pick a time that works for the largest potential group. And I will adjust my schedule to be there. Go ahead.
QSL. And I can do the same. So let's change the focus now to the other people here that are checked into the net. Is there a particular night or evening that does not work during the week? Let's start with the ones that don't work, that you feel is a poor choice of an evening. Chip, do you have any feelings on that? Go ahead.
Hey, it's OFL in 5 RPF. First, a technical issue. Jay, I think your microphone is a little hot. I'm listening on the Yaesu. On D-Star, it sounds okay, but I think D-Star is more forgiving. But it's got a lot of distortion on loud passages. You may want to drop a few dBs on that. As far as the night of the week, probably the only ones that are bad for me would be Wednesday and Sunday, because we're usually traveling back and forth on those evenings, and just it'd be hard to get to one place and set up in time to participate. In 5 RTF.
I dropped the microphone somewhat. I hope that's better. And let's rule out Wednesday night, and assuming that we can come up with a Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday that's acceptable. Mark, Monday, Tuesday, or Thursday, or any of those nights an issue for you? Go ahead.
WAOEXA. I have some meetings, but they're like once a month on Mondays for the local hand club. And as far as, that's just a once a month thing. So I would say any of those days are fine. We've got 9 o'clock our time on the East Coast, so should be fine. I won't be there on the first Monday of the month. That's when our local club meets. WAOEXA.
WA1EXA, AA4FL, QSL, and actually then you mentioned Monday nights are problematic for me. So we're just Tuesday and Thursday at those times. So let's consider those two days of the week. And Mel, Howard, what about Tuesdays and Thursdays? What Thursdays for you?
I don't think there's any real difference for me. Either one would be fine. have a vague recollection, and maybe I'll try and look at it during the week for you. WH4QZ Daryl maintains a spreadsheet of ham radio nets, and I think Thursday was the night with the leaf nets or some answer like that, if that matters. I don't know if this group is participating in a lot of the other nets, but just thought.
Yeah, thank you, Howard. This one will be a Zoom meeting for Merrill's suggestion of expanding horizons and letting everyone in Marco participate. We have the potential, certainly a lot more that would be able to do Zoom in the DBNet. And of course, we just want to pick a modality that doesn't have propagation issues, and we want to do it on HF. So thank you. Hilton, T2BBQ, this puts it later for you. So, I mean, 10 o'clock, I don't know what happens when we do our time change, how that's going to affect you. Would Tuesday or Thursday work better for you, Hilton?
Okay, for FL, GY2BBQ returning. Well, considering that I'm always about 2 hours later than you, any day that you choose at night and during the week, I can manage to participate. It won't be a problem because it will be late enough for me to not to have any other appointment. So back to you, A4FL, PY2BBQ.
Well, thank you, Hilton. And of course, that could be 11 o'clock in the evening. So with the Zoom session, what we will do, we will just go ahead and record the Zoom session and make that available for members who can't participate to listen later. WJD, what are your feelings, Andy, on the subject? Over.
Well, my restrictions are pretty much exactly the same as just, I have a net at 8:30 Sunday evening and also at 9 p.m. Wednesday evening Eastern Time. And both those nets I'm a very active participant, and indeed on the one on Wednesday over net control, or that I sometimes have to do on the one on Wednesday. So those 2 nights are out. Otherwise, at 9 p.m., I'm okay with the other days, minus times that I'm doing family-oriented things to prevent it. So, back to you, Jay from WJAD.
AA4FL. Well, I guess Tuesday or Thursday in terms of our group does not seem to matter. Being that a lot of you have nets on Monday night, Tuesday would make it 2 nights in a row, so maybe it'd be wiser to go with Thursday. And I'll get together an invite to send out and give advance notice so individuals can order the book and maybe put a link to the book. So, Merrill, I'll try to get that done tomorrow. And if you don't see it on the listserv by tomorrow, please get a hold of me. And I'll also may have a question for you, just have you confirm the post before I do it. So I'll correspond with you by email. I look forward to it. We'll do your book first, and then we'll ask the person who wanted to do the emergency medical one, maybe pick that up for the following month and try to pick up once a month. Maybe we'll shoot for the last Thursday in the month. See how it works. Of course, I won't be able to personally do that in April, but I'll be in Europe, of all places, in Spain at the time. Before we call the net to a close, is there any other follow-up discussion that anyone would like to make? If so, make your call to AA4 and I'll start with.
This is KC3SOK, Kilo Charlie 30 Oscar Kilo. Jim,
Came on a little late. I'm on call for the group today. In fact, I'm on the road now heading down to do a surgery. I guess coming in the middle, I think the discussion was to change the QuadNet array time to during the week on a Tuesday or Thursday. I guess my 2 cents would be Tuesday would be a little better, although someone couldn't make it. But if the later it is at night, the easier it is on Tuesday that I could do it for Thursday. I'm prepared for surgeries all day the next day. So that makes it a little bit tough. Anyway, that's my little 2 cents feedback. And we've had a discussion offline about if there's anything that we can do to help out in the situation in Ukraine. It seems pretty remote at this time. Anyway, those are my thoughts, and I may have one more opportunity to go around before I get to the hospital parking lot. And everybody have a great day, and back to you.
Jim, good to have you checking in. I hope your day surgery goes well. No, we were talking, actually, the net would be left alone. The discussion here was to have a book club meet by Zoom. And thank you for letting us know Tuesday would be better for you, as we were coming to a conclusion that it would be Thursday. So we can try Tuesday. I can query the group and ask them before I schedule it. The general membership, would Tuesday night be a better night for the book club? I could ask and then do an invite for that. And I can give the option for Thursday. I obviously can't please everyone, but certainly, Jim, if you're willing and interested in participating, that would be Tuesday the preference for you. There's no great advantage Tuesday or Thursday unless our general membership feels otherwise. Any other discussion before we bring the next to a close? Go ahead and call to make a list. Well, thank you for everyone that has joined us today for the Argo Digital Voice Net. I think we have some wise input on the subject of Ukraine and amateur radio, certainly, and amateur radio scholarship in general. We've also made a lot of progress on the book club today. Please email me with threads that you might feel would be worthy of discussion on the DVNet. There is a pro and con to doing a Zoom session for the book club. You may find that the participation rates are much greater on the book club being on Zoom, which would probably also be true for a coffee house type of net, but having it here on the TV net has its advantages too, because even though we're small in turnout, it allows everyone to get a word and give input and have true roundtable discussion. Had it really grow to 20 or 30, that could be problematic. So 7-3 all, thank you for a wonderful week of discussion and friendship. I look forward to talking to you in Delray Beach, Florida next Saturday morning. This is AA4FL bringing the Marco Digital Voice Net to a close after one final important thing, task, which is to thank the QuadNet Array for the ability of us to have the net here and the support that they give to making sure that the operations of the transcoding go well. And we do appreciate that. It's an invaluable asset to the radio. 7-3 all. AA4FL bringing the net to a close.